This is Lois Whaley for Women Today and Yesterday. My guest today is Mary Nally from Community Food Initiatives here locally. Mary, so glad that you could come.
Thanks for having me. This is quite an honor.
Oh, well, thank you. You know, one of the reasons why I think it's so important to talk to you today is that World Food Day is coming up on October 16th, and we're doing this taping a couple of days before that. But I have here the United Nations was very involved in this. And as a matter of fact, it's interesting that Food and Agriculture Organization, one of the United Nations specialized agencies, actually predates the United Nations going into effect, because the treaty was signed in Rome, which set up the Food and Agriculture Organization, as I say, on October 16th, 1945. And the United Nations didn't come officially into effect until October 24th, 1945. Because they had to wait until enough nations had ratified the United Nations Charter before they could be really official.
Well, it's exciting to hear that food and agriculture were really at the forefront of priorities back then, and that they're still gaining so much attention today, which is very important, both at the local level and globally.
That's right, yes. Well, tell us a little bit more about community food initiatives.
Sure. So our organization is 23 years old, based here in Athens. We are a membership-based organization, so we really want to involve everyone in the work that we do. And that work is really focused on, as you know, the fact that a lot of people in Athens County and in Southeast Ohio do not have access to fresh, healthy food on a regular basis. We have the highest food insecurity rate in the state.
Really?
We do. And Ohio is actually one of the worst states for food insecurity nationally. So all of our programs are focused on resolving that problem. So, and we do that by, not focusing so much on those negative statistics, but on identifying what our assets are. What the wealth that we do have. And we, as part of Appalachia, we have a very strong history in agriculture, and we have good soil and people in our community who have been farming and preserving food, and in a lot of ways kind of sustaining the community without the need for outside help. And so I find that framework to be very positive. I'm from this area originally, and so anything that we can do to remind ourselves of what we do have as our strengths and focusing and building those out. So our longest...
So food, let's see, for instance, the farmers markets are involved, aren't they?
Yes, we are connected and partnering with the Athens Farmers Market on a few different programs. The one in particular I think you might be thinking of is our donation station. And with that program, we are collecting local food and then distributing it out to food pantries and social service agencies that are feeding those in need. And that program is around 8 years old and has really expanded. So what we're doing with that is, addressing that food insecurity issue while also supporting the local food economy. So we collect monetary donations, and then we spend them at the Athens Farmers Market. We're also at the Chester Hill Produce Auction in Morgan County. And then we purchase food locally there and distribute it out, in addition to donations of food that we get from those farmers, vendors, community gardeners. And we also go to local farms with a project we call the Harvest Hotline, where a farmer can call us up, and if they have excess food in their fields, we'll come out and harvest it with volunteers and then distribute that out as well.
Well, perhaps
So-
you've been quite busy with that. I mean, isn't this harvest time now, or maybe even
It is.
after harvest time?
It's been a very, very busy year, and honestly, it doesn't slow down in the winter months. We do a
Really?
lot of planning and also a lot of educational programs. And so with the donation station program, we have the education component there is called Discovery Kitchen, and we are actually starting this week through mid-November. We're in different public libraries across Athens County doing tasting events. And the purpose of Discovery Kitchen is to help people connect with local produce that they might not be familiar with. So, and learning how to cook from scratch using those ingredients in ways that will be tasty for everyone in the family.
Well,
So-
what are some of the unusual, are there some unusual foods? You say that these are often things people are not familiar with.
Right. So, I mean, most people know what to do with, you know, green beans or zucchini or
Potatoes.
tomatoes. Potatoes, sure. But if an eggplant is thrown into the mix,
Oh,
for
right,
example,
yeah.
people might be scratching their heads on, oh, how do I do this? And,
Right.
you know, and so we are, you know, coming up with fun recipes for those items. And at these Discovery Kitchen tastings, you get a sample and a recipe, as well as an engaging activity, and usually something fun for kids, so that they're learning a little bit more about what healthy food is, why it's important, and where their food comes from. And we really want to celebrate that because we're distributing so much local food. In fact, from the beginning of the donation station until now, we've distributed over 150 tons
Wow.
of local food to pantries. And we've been very excited. The past 2 years, we've been really expanding who we're serving with this program. So we're now in Athens, Morgan, Meigs, Vinton, and Washington counties.
Oh my, so
serving
really
those
southeast
pantries.
Ohio?
Yes, yeah, we've been working very hard to expand our service area for this program specifically. And we're also working on consulting with other communities to replicate it. So we're in conversation and making movements to support a donation station development in Chillicothe, Ohio.
In Chillicothe?
Yes,
Oh.
yeah, they have a very wonderful farmers market that's just getting increasingly robust, and some food pantries that are very excited at the opportunity to provide fresh produce to the people that they're serving. I mean, a lot of the food pantries around here do get excellent food from our regional food bank out of Hocking County. But there tends to not be enough fresh food to go around. A lot of it's
You think of
shelf-stabled. Yeah.
you know, something canned or something in a
Exactly.
box, which doesn't have to be eaten immediately type of thing, is what you think that probably the people at the food pantries are distributing.
Right, and that is still the majority of the food. And
Sure.
we need that, and the regional food bank has been taking great strides in making sure that those items, to the best of their ability, what they can control in terms of what they're purchasing or distributing, is, you know, low in sodium, sugar, fat, and things like that, because, you know, a lot of those shelf-stable foods can be problematic for our health because of additional ingredients that are in them. And so, you know, that's another aspect that we're trying to address with all of our programs, is not only, you know, food access, but we really want to
The kind of
it needs to be
healthy.
healthy food, yeah,
Yeah.
and delicious food.
Yeah.
So
Because if it isn't delicious, it probably won't be eaten.
exactly, yeah. So we're trying to get people excited about it and to connect with where their food comes from, as well as to develop personal agency. That, you know, if you're living in a low-income situation or experiencing food insecurity, that you don't just have to wait for help to come to you, that you can be involved in there. There are
Right.
people there to support you with getting the tools and resources that you need. So another one of our programs, and in fact the one that's the most longstanding, is our community garden program.
Community garden.
Correct, yeah. So we provide spaces. We have 5 community gardens that we manage across the county in Gloucester, Chansey, Nelsonville, and then 2 here in the city of Athens on the east side and south side. And then the west side community garden operates now independently of us, although we try to provide support when we
so
can.
they're on their own and they're doing
They
well.
are, yes, yeah. Which is
you birthed them, maybe.
Exactly. Well, we tried to help.
Well, you helped. Huh?
We help them, and they have their own steering committee that manages them, and that's really ideal because it is meant to be truly a community garden that's managed and supported by the people that are using it. And our role there is to, offer a garden space to anyone who would like it.
How large are these gardens usually?
We have around 20,000 square feet total with all of our gardens, but they vary, So the Nelsonville Community Garden, for example, is definitely our largest.
Largest in Nelsonville?
Yes, yeah. And the smallest one at this point would be the Chansey Community Garden, although it has doubled in size over the past 4 years. We have raised beds there. And so they look differently, and each is unique to that community. But each individual gardener gets their own plot, and they're responsible for growing and maintaining their plot. And what we provide is access to water, mulch and compost when we have them available, and tools for the garden. And then we also host free seed giveaways, seed giveaways and plant starts. So what we're trying to do is give everyone the tools and resources they need to get that garden going and to maintain it.
Well, how do they access this? I mean, do you have like a list of vacant plots that are available for people?
Yes, yes. So we have a map of each garden that we manage internally. Our community garden program coordinator is the contact for all of the community gardens. So we have designated plots for individuals, and we know which ones are vacant, and we try to get as many people in as possible. And oftentimes we see that gardening works better when you have a buddy. So we do encourage people to garden with a friend, or have it be a family garden plot, and bring your kids out there and connect with them. The more hands, the easier the work.
When those weeds appear, they have to be gotten rid of.
Exactly.
Pulling them out.
And twice a month for each of the community gardens, we have days that are called garden work parties, where we try to get all the community gardeners together at that garden, and then we also usually bring in some volunteers to assist in just the general maintenance of the garden in terms of pathways and things of that nature, turning the compost. But it's also an opportunity for gardeners to ask our staff questions, to troubleshoot problems, and just to get to connect and meet one another and share their own personal experiences. And with that program, we have an educational component as well, and that's our gardening and food preservation workshop series. So throughout the year, we have anywhere between 20 to 40 workshops focused on the basics of organic gardening.
Do you have any actual workshops coming up now? I mean, it's fall, and most people are,
Exactly, yes. We actually don't at this moment. We just had a really fun workshop last night on garlic planting, because this is the time of year to plant your garlic. And then you can harvest it in the spring and summer of the following year. And it's a great way to do something with your garden that's extremely low maintenance. I mean, you plant the garlic and you basically can just walk away and then come back the next year. And
there it is.
And there it is. And you've got garlic, and it's a great way to hold that soil together to, infuse some nutrients into your garden and hold that space for the winter months, so that
well, you mentioned speaking about times and the fact that you just had your, so to speak, last workshop, which is planting garlic in the fall for spring and summer harvesting. But you mentioned about the Discovery Kitchen and the fact that you're going to be at a number of libraries upcoming. So give us an idea. Do you have a schedule?
We do, and the easiest way to check out the schedule is on our website, or on our Facebook page.
Website and Facebook. That's a good
So you can just Google
location.
communityfoodinitiatives.org is our website, and it's Community Food Initiatives on Facebook as well.
Communityfoodinitiatives.org. Let's see. Can we spell that? COMMUNITY, no space.
FOODINITIATIVES.org.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. I tell you, it's a bad pun, but it is a mouthful.
It is a mouthful. Communityfoodinitiatives.org. But Facebook or...
And the Discovery Kitchens are also listed on the Athens Public Library website as
oh,
well.
okay.
Yes, but they're all, I
the
believe
whole county, because it is Athens County Public Library,
Correct.
headquartered in Nelsonville, where you say you have the largest community garden.
That's
there.
right. Yes, and so these Discovery Kitchens, we're doing some right now at Gloucester and the Athens City Public Library, and then following those will be in Chansey and Coolville.
Now, are those within the next month?
Yes, yeah. So this is the first week for those that are happening in Athens and Gloucester, and then we'll be doing that through October 25th, and then I need to check. And then in November 2nd through the 16th, we'll be in Coolville and Chansey.
I see. Now, is it a particular day of the week that you're there? Or
Yes, so for Gloucester, for the ones happening now on Tuesdays, we're at Gloucester at 4 o'clock.
Tuesdays at Gloucester at 4 o'clock.
Yes, and then Wednesdays at 5 in Athens.
Wednesdays at 5 in Athens. In other words, as we are taping today on a Wednesday,
Yes.
this afternoon there's going to be a Discovery Kitchen.
There sure is.
And there will be next week. Next week, Tuesday at Gloucester at 4 o'clock, next Tuesday, and then next Wednesday at
5.
5
Yes.
in Athens.
Correct.
All right.
Yeah.
So those Discovery Kitchens, folks, if you see this show, you better think, hey, can I get out to, or people in Gloucester? Unfortunately, I don't think that Time Warner Cable goes that far. But if you know anybody in Gloucester that might be interested in Discovery Kitchen, they should show up at 4 o'clock next Tuesday at the Gloucester Library.
It'll be fun. We especially love getting to involve kids in the Discovery Kitchens, and we strategize with the libraries to overlap a little bit with story times or other activities that are already scheduled at the libraries.
I see.
So even if you're not coming for Discovery Kitchen, if you happen to be there, we might offer you a sample and a recipe and invite you to come on over. So. And the other thing that we do have 2 other events coming up that I'd love to mention, and one is this Sunday, which is a family fun day at Little Fish Brewery on Armitage Road here in Athens from 3 to 6, and it really is fun for the whole family. We just wanted an opportunity to celebrate our programs, help people get to know our organization, and just spend the afternoon. So we'll have some different activities. We'll be sampling some roasted butternut squash hummus that our Discovery Kitchen people are making to sample. And then Little Fish Brewery has, as would be their specialty, they have designed a special autumnal beer that they'll be featuring with pumpkin in it, so it's a Pepita Stout.
Pumpkin.
Yes, a little pumpkin stout for a Sunday afternoon, so people can come on their own or bring their kids or their dogs. It's a really fun and family-friendly event.
Family Fun Day event, so that would be the 16th.
Correct.
Sunday the 16th. Give us the time again.
From 3 to 6.
3 to 6, and the location?
At Little Fish Brewery on Armitage Road.
Little Fish Brewery on Armitage Road. Wow. Where is Armitage Road?
It's just off of 682.
Okay.
I mean, it's right by White's Mill.
Oh, very close.
Yes, it's
White's
very
Mill is
close.
right here in
Right, and in
town.
fact, the bike path connects there now as well, because since the city extended the bike path to Armitage, so you can just go straight there from the west side
Oh,
if you're
okay.
so inclined.
It's right nearby, folks.
Yeah.
And that's Sunday, and the Little Fish Brewery is the host, and 3 to 6 on Little Fish. Am I getting the name straight
Yes.
here? Brewery. Little
Little
Fish
Fish
Brewery
Brewery.
on Armitage Road.
Yes.
Quite nearby, near White's Mill. Armitage Road goes off of 682. And people can get there from the bike path.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Well, do you have to cross the river?
There's a bridge, yes.
Oh, there is a bridge.
Yeah,
okay.
there's a little bike path bridge.
You don't have to get off your bike and swim.
Oh, goodness, no.
That might deter some people.
It might, yeah. It's actually very easy. So, yeah, so we're excited to be doing all of this work. And, you know, we also have a program with the school gardens. We support all the school gardens in the area with technical support and resources to the best of our ability. And we're in all of the school buildings in the entire county, save for one.
Which one is missing?
Athens City Middle School, and they just don't have the room.
Yes.
They're right
Well,
downtown in Athens.
They
so-
are totally surrounded by pavement and
Exactly, yeah. Well, one of these days maybe we'll figure out something, but we have our hands full with all of the other,
oh, I would think.
so we're supporting over a dozen
Over a
school
dozen
gardens.
school
And then
gardens.
we also work a great deal with the Athens County Children's Services. They have a beautiful garden that they use for their family visitations.
Oh,
And we're very happy to have partnered with them to continue
Yes.
supporting their garden there.
So among the other initiatives, we have school gardens, we have community gardens, and
And the donation station is
the donation station.
And then the final one is a new project that
Yeah.
we started just in the past 2 years called Ridge and Hollow Seed Alliance. And this is essentially a small seed company where we're sourcing all of the seeds from local seed savers in Central Appalachia and then providing a retail venue for them. So we're purchasing seeds from local seed savers. We do the packaging and marketing, and this for the past 2 years we've been selling them at White's Mill, the pharmacy, and Village Bakery. But we're hoping to expand that regionally in 2017.
Right. So these are seeds which come from local gardens originally and are packaged out at your location on Columbus Road.
Yes. Yeah, and the reason why this is so important is that, you know, especially when we're looking at food security globally, it's not just about making sure that there's enough food on the plate in front of people in terms of dealing with hunger, but also in terms of how secure is our food system in general. And when it comes to crop seeds, we have lost 93% of our crop varieties in the past 80 years. And that's a really significant concern when you think about what happens when there's a hurricane or a drought or an infestation of a pest. You know, you can easily wipe out a crop, and then if we don't have enough varieties to replace it, it puts us at great risk. And so what we're doing is identifying what seeds are saved locally that are hardy to this region, that do well with our soil conditions, that are resistant to the pests in the area, and that hold heritage, so that have family histories or are regionally significant. And so our tagline for Ridge and Hollow is grow your heritage, because we really want this to be another opportunity for people to, you know, identify and connect with what's really great about being in Appalachia and in Southeast Ohio.
Well, the grow your heritage idea would certainly fit in with the Chester Hill produce market, wouldn't it?
Yes, yeah. So
Because that's an area, well, there were a lot of Amish farmers there, and I suppose there's still some.
yes, they certainly are. We'll actually be getting to go to their member meeting or farmer meeting among the Chester Hill Produce Auction vendors to discuss the Ridge and Hollow Seed Alliance and see if there might be some Amish farmers that would be interested in participating as growers with this venture, because a lot of them do save their seeds to use for the next year. So, and we really want this to be, you know, another aspect of building our local food economy. You know, there's been a lot of focus on, you know, farmers and food producers, restaurants using that local food, but there hasn't been as much conversation about the seeds. So we're really excited to get to do that. And looking at the work of the United Nations and their Food and Agriculture Organization, there's a lot of connectivity there, because they've had quite a few discussions about seeds and the importance of it as a global issue.
Well, maybe this would be a time to talk a little bit about the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization and some other aspects. I mentioned earlier about Sunday, which is the day you can go to the fun day from 3 to 6 out at the Little Fish Brewery on Armitage Road. And this program should be on in time for a couple of people to see it, to view it, to hear about that maybe have not heard about it, you know, through what's going to be in the paper and that sort of thing.
Right.
But Food and Agriculture Organization does deal internationally through the United Nations. And I think we have some pictures here about the UN. If Matt, could you show those? That one shows peace, and you notice that the peace dove is taking A from war and taking it up to the peace, which is missing the A. And that's a very nice T-shirt, actually, from the United Nations, which I bought the last time I was at the United Nations in New York.
Oh, my.
And we have a picture of the United Nations building as well. Yeah, there we go. The glass house by the East River, and you see all the flags. There are so many members of the United Nations now, and many more than the original 50. You know, it's at least tripled in size since 1945. I remember those times because I'm old enough. I was in 8th grade and freshman year in high school in 1945. So I remember the coming of the United Nations. And I like to boast that I have visited the United Nations under every Secretary General.
Oh my gosh.
And there's a new one upcoming, actually. Ban Ki-moon has been General Secretary since, well, for 10 years. This is his 10th and last year. And so it will be in January that a new man will become Secretary General of the United Nations, who is a politician from Portugal, actually. And we'll probably have something more about him on. I don't know whether I'm going to be able to get to New York during his time. I'm not doing as much traveling as I used to, but I certainly hope so, since I, as I say, like to boast about the fact I have visited the UN all those
Absolutely. It's a
times.
tradition now, Lois.
Yes.
You've got to find a way.
It's a tradition. I've got to find a way of getting there. And I think we have another picture of the UN. This is taken from across the East River in New York City. This is taken from Brooklyn. And you see there the glass house on the, which is the office building of the United Nations. But down at the bottom, there you see some low white buildings, and those are the places where the United Nations meets. The General Assembly is meeting there now. And of course, the Security Council meets there. And the first time I ever went to that building, which would have been under the second Secretary General, because this complex was donated by the Rockefellers, and it was not built until the early 1950s. So the first time I actually visited the United Nations, it was near Brooklyn, out where they once had the New York World's Fair in 1939.
Sure.
So, but the glass house by the East River has been there since the 1950s. And one of the nice places on the grounds, actually, is a little memorial in one corner of the complex of buildings and grounds to Eleanor Roosevelt, because she was, of course, the widow of President Franklin Roosevelt, whom I remember very well because he was president all during my childhood. He died in 1945 after being president for already, 12 years or so.
Right.
So anyway, it's a very nice place to visit if people go to New York. It's way sort of at the end of 42nd Street area, that part, but all the way over to the east on the East River, where the Hudson has divided between the big part where you see the big ships and the part to the east between Manhattan and Brooklyn.
Right.
Yeah. I was born in that territory.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
My father grew up in Harlem.
Did he really?
Yes.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's up about 125th Street.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's sort of far north on Manhattan Island. And I remember being up there one time, and I had taken the wrong subway.
Oh, no.
I took the east side subway instead of the west side subway. I was trying to get to Columbia University, which is on the west side of the island.
Right.
I walked out at 125th Street and I looked around, and there's so many black people who live in Harlem now.
Right.
I thought, what happened here? And then I realized I must have gone the wrong subway.
Yeah. Well, it's an easy city to, the public transportation, I think, it can be simple when you know how to manage it, but you do have to know. It's a big city, though.
It is a big city.
And so colorful. I love getting to visit.
Yes.
And then I love getting to come back to Athens.
Right.
So it's good to appreciate the world. And, it's such an interesting city because they actually have, I forget where they stand in the rankings, but they have a great amount of green space and a lot of gardening going on.
Rooftop.
And farming. Rooftop gardening, community gardens in little pockets, kind of pocket parks.
Right.
Or where, buildings have been torn down, they'll put in raised beds.
Yes, and that's true around the United States. And there are some places that have, like downtown Detroit, for instance, there are large areas that were not rebuilt after the fires of in the 1960s.
Right.
And so there are places where these gardens can be built up.
Absolutely. And I think, Detroit and a lot of other cities that have gone through a lot of significant changes with economic ups and downs have really used those gardens and agriculture in general to be a significant part of the revitalization of those communities and saying, it's not all, broken and boarded up windows. We can do something with our communities ourselves and make this a beautiful space and, grow food to feed ourselves and our neighbors. So I always find that to be a very inspiring example of what humanity can do, and I love getting to be a part of it here in Athens, and to know that that's happening nationally and internationally.
Yes.
As necessary conversations that we need to have of how can we do this better, because it's such a myth that there's not enough food to go around. Mm-hmm. There is. It's really just about, it's a distribution issue, it's an equity issue, and making sure that the food that is available is, helping us have good health and good practices environmentally as well.
There was a recent meeting, annual meeting, I think it was, no, I guess it was the fall fundraiser of the Appalachian Peace and Justice Network people. Yes. Mm-hmm. And the speaker there, one of the speakers, was a young man who works with community gardens. And he had traveled, not only working here, but traveled to see what they were doing in Detroit and Cleveland. And so, it's really taking off, you might say.
It definitely is. And, no time like the present to discuss some of these issues. And, speaking of the United Nations and their World Food Day, I was looking at what their focus is on, and it's very strongly connected to, addressing global food security issues and hunger, but also adapting to climate change, and how will climate change, particularly with shifts in temperatures, in pests moving around, as temperatures fluctuate, bugs can travel to warmer climates.
Going north in the northern hemisphere, and I suppose they'd be going south in the southern hemisphere.
Yeah, it poses a lot of challenges and a lot of uncertainties, but we really need to start thinking ahead about that to say, okay, what crop varieties are adaptable to different conditions, which ones are going to respond to changes, particularly for drought tolerance, because that's going to be a significant issue. I mean, already we have had a number of significant droughts here in our neck of the woods, but also nationally, if you think of the whole California basin.
Right, and the thing about climate change, there's some people who think that it just means that it's going to get hotter. But that's the really important and worrying thing is that it means that there will be more terrific climate events, like hurricanes and so forth.
Right, and a likely growing intensity in those storms. And really it's about, there are some aspects that they're able to predict what those changes will look like, but honestly a lot of it has to do with, how things may be increasingly unpredictable.
Right.
And so in terms of agriculture, we're going to need crops that can adapt. And that's where open pollinated seeds that are saved are really great, because when you're saving seeds and then planting those seeds the following year, that's a living evolutionary cycle. So each year the seeds are adapting to those conditions, and as opposed to a hybrid seed, which is static. And the vast majority of seeds, if you go to your local hardware store or gardening store, you're purchasing hybrid seeds.
Yes.
So those can be great. Some of them have traits that are really excellent in terms of dealing with pests. They might be more pest resistant or disease resistant. Yeah. But they're not adaptable, and you can't really, for most hybrid seeds, you can't really plant them and save their seeds and have the same plant the next year. So the genetic material doesn't necessarily transfer. But with open pollinated seeds, you can plant those year to year, and they will more quickly adapt to those conditions. And so that's why there's nationally and internationally, a large focus on saving the seed stock that we have, and reusing that, as well as developing more.
Yes.
So to help
and that's
that.
something that people don't realize but the giant seed companies specialize in the what was the term?
The hybrid seeds.
The hybrid seeds. So sometimes, so that it's not possible to save the seed of the plant that has grown from that hybrid often.
Right, well, they're patented by those companies.
Patented.
Yeah, so they're patented genetic material that belongs to companies like Monsanto, for example.
Right.
But with open pollinated seeds, it's like open source software on computers. It's available to everyone. And you can protect that to a certain extent if you're a seed saver, and maybe that's genetic material that you don't want to have anybody else mess with. You can also patent that as well, but it's a little bit more challenging to do so. And really there's, in terms of looking at the issues of crop variety loss, there's so many more incentives to build out and increase the number of open pollinated varieties. And that's why, one of the United Nations projects has been to support the global seed vaults in, is it Norway or Finland? It's in Scandinavia, which is really phenomenal. And it's truly a global seed vault. So it's a seed bank where countries from all over the world can, for free, take the seeds that they've saved in their country, open pollinated seeds, and save them in the vault for emergencies. So for example, or for the long haul. My favorite example is Syria.
Yes.
When their recent unrest was happening, they were very concerned that their seeds would actually be targeted as a way to reduce, excuse me. Well, anyway, in Syria, they were concerned that the seeds that they had saved were going to be in danger and targeted as a way to damage them and have people go hungry. So what they did is they collected those seeds and sent them to the global seed vault. And it works just like a safety deposit box at your bank. Seriously.
For food.
So, yeah, for your seeds. And so they're stored there. It's basically just a gigantic freezer. The seeds were saved there, and then once things were settled down and the farmers were ready to plant, Syria was able to retrieve those seeds and redistribute them, and then save a little extra and
what a
send it
good
back.
idea.
So, it's brilliant, yeah. And we need that, and especially when looking at how climate change might be cause for a lot of adaptation, it's helpful for us to know what crop varieties exist across the globe, because who knows what is working well in one region of the country or the world now could be useful to us later.
Well,
so I'm excited that is part of the global focus, as well as addressing sustainability in the practice of growing food. That's one of the priorities.
Yes.
That's being addressed with World Food Day.
When you mentioned about the effects of climate change, I was thinking that there's a terrible example going on right now, which is that Haiti, which has had this devastating earthquake a number of years ago,
Right.
has now been hit by the Hurricane Matthew, and the place that had drought for 5 years or something terrible like that, just because of, who knows, some sort of climate problem, was hit by these devastating floods. So, if anyone looks at it from the average point of view, they can say, well, they had 5 years drought, then all of a sudden they had 5 years worth of rainfall. But that doesn't help.
No, it certainly doesn't.
Because along comes a hurricane and washes away the soil and the seeds and everything.
Right. There was a lot of a lot of crops that were devastated by
Yeah.
that, mangoes and bananas, and things that take time, years, to grow back. You know,
Right.
those.
And they say
Very
that that part was one of the most productive parts of Haiti in terms of being able to raise food. And so, well, you just never can tell what
Right. And
what things may happen next.
exactly.
I want to point out that I'm wearing my Crop Walk T-shirt
Oh yeah.
here. It actually says Crop Walk. People can't see that part because it's down at the bottom. But this shows a couple of ladies probably walking. Well, here's a lady and probably here's a fella, I don't know. But they have baskets on their heads with things, and one of the things that Crop Walk does is it supports both the local food pantry with a quarter of the money that they raise, and the other 3/4 goes to Church World United, which puts out the people can put down their own particular denomination's food program, because nearly every denomination has some special
Right.
program that helps poor people around the world. And so that's upcoming, that's going to be on October 23rd, which is a Sunday,
Right.
but not this coming Sunday. And we now see a couple of brochures there on the screen which show about the food walk, which is Crop Walk, which is going to be on Sunday, the 23rd of October. This has been going on locally as a project of local churches for quite a long time, at least 15 or 20 years. And so I know the Presbyterians are very much involved. Danny Moats has led the effort for a long time. And the late John Woodrow, also a Presbyterian, was very active during his lifetime as a treasurer for Crop Walk locally.
Nice.
So that's going to be at 2 o'clock on October 23rd. And they always meet by the football stadium.
Okay.
You know, there's a big parking lot between the football stadium and Richland Avenue. And they meet by the bike path there at the end of the parking lot, so that people can walk on the bike path, which is the traditional place for folks to walk. It's not one of those, you know, I'll walk a mile for $10 or something like that. It's whatever people are willing to donate. And people ahead of time in the churches ask for donations or pledges of donations for Crop Walk. So they do gather the money there, a quarter of which goes to the local food pantry, and then, as I mentioned, 3/4 to through the various church groups, and to the international problems. So that's why this has an international.
Yeah.
My shirt has this international emphasis to it. But you notice I've got a little button up here that says "End Hunger," and that's what we need. We need philanthropic groups to help out with current difficulties, and we need groups that are working to prevent hunger, like community food initiatives.
Well, it really takes everyone being involved, and I think the thing that's exciting about this kind of work, whether it's connected to community food initiatives or this Crop Walk, is that this is something that everyone can get behind, because I
Yes.
think we all agree everyone deserves the best and healthiest food, and this is a problem we can solve. You know,
Yes.
we in our own communities and globally.
Yes.
So, but it's going to take everyone working together to help make that happen. So, there's a place at the table for everyone. And
Yes.
it's exciting that the crop walk, even if you don't have a whole lot of money, you could come and just donate $5 and
Sure.
be a part of the walk. Or if you've got more,
Right.
you can
Yes.
donate more and make a difference that way.
Right,
So-
and look to see if your church group is going to be involved. I know the Lutherans are always quite active too, as well as the Presbyterians and a number of other groups. I myself am Unitarian Universalist, and I've been active with Crop Walk for, like I say, it must be almost 20 years now. It is a rather small effort, but it's an important effort.
Yeah.
And it's something that we can do. And also get out and get a good walk at the same
Exactly.
time.
Why not?
Now, I will probably, bring down the wrath of the climate gods by saying that I think that in all the years I've walked, there was only one year that we really were rained on terribly.
Well, fingers crossed. We'll have
Fingers
a good day
crossed.
for it.
Hopefully it'll be like most of the crop walk days. It will be a nice sunny day. That would be really nice with a crisp autumn, crisp
Right. A
autumn
little
air.
autumnal feel.
Yes, yes, indeed. If we're lucky.
Yes.
But even if we're not lucky, we need to make the effort. It's like with the gardens. You are at the mercy of what happens, whether it rains or whether you have a very dry summer or
That's
whatever. What was it like this past summer? Was it?
This summer wasn't too bad for our community and school gardens. There was certainly a lot more watering we had to do, all of us, because there were so many weeks without any rain.
Yes.
That was a big concern. But then sometimes I had to remind gardeners, well, 2 years ago we had way more rain than we could handle, and we were having some flooding issues. So
Right.
it is. I mean, we can only do what we can do. And, although we can all do our part to help mitigate climate change, we cannot control the weather.
Nope.
And I don't think that will ever change. So we just have to do the best that we can. But yeah, I mean, people are always, and this goes for myself as well, I love the spring when the gardens are filled with possibilities and you get to plant your seeds and put in your plant starts. And it's like watching magic happen, having those little sprouts come up and see them, see your work come to fruition. And then there's this difficult time of, I have to weed and water, and this feels like so much work, and now there's
Right.
bugs, and how do I deal with that organically, because I don't want to have chemicals on my food. So there's always that trial period.
Yes.
But then you get to harvest time and get to taste, how delicious a fresh tomato is compared with what, has been shipped from goodness knows where, and see your hard work really
Yes.
turn into something beautiful and delicious. And with our workshops that I had mentioned with those community gardens, we help educate people on how to get through those difficult times. So how
Right.
you can plan your garden so that it is drought tolerant, and using mulch to hold the moisture in so you don't have to water all
Yes.
the time, and identifying the symptoms of plant diseases or pests going on and how to manage them. And a lot of that really is just prevention, things that we can all do in our gardens to help our soil be healthy, help our plants be healthy, and just structure things in such a way that it reduces the amount of work during those hot, sweaty months of summer.
Right. Well, I know that they have a big mulching program at the university, which I think, they actually use that mostly for their own trees
Their compost,
and
yes.
compost. Yeah. But what is your source of mulching?
Well, we have some wonderful partnerships with some landscaping companies,
I
actually,
see.
as they're processing old trees, breaking them down. They shred all of those and have wood chip mulch. And so we have a few companies that donate that wood chip mulch to us when they don't need it themselves.
Oh, good.
And they'll deliver directly to some of our community gardens. And then we have partnered with Ohio University's composting system to get compost, particularly for our school gardens.
School gardens, yes.
A lot
Makes
of that's
sense.
gone toward the school gardens, although we have had some of that go to community gardens in the past. So we're always kind of trying to amend and improve the
I
soil
see.
as best we can.
Right.
But it's, the way we're doing it is kind of a slow process.
Yeah.
But we try to do our part and
That's good.
as we provide resources for
Right.
those folks that are growing food.
My guest this morning has been Mary Nally from Community Food Initiatives out on Columbus Road, talking about the community gardens and some of the upcoming events that the Food Discovery?
Discovery Kitchen?
Discovery
Yes.
Kitchen. That sounds even more foodish, doesn't it? And there are other things going on this Sunday. I myself am planning to go up to Hocking County to Otiaqua Camp, where there's going to be a fundraiser for the Ohio Environmental Council. In Shawnee, which is just over the county line in Perry County, they're having the Little Cities of Black Diamonds event this Sunday afternoon from noon to 5. And that's always an interesting place to visit, an old coal town, and one of the places where the coal miners first organized in Shawnee. So there are plenty of things to do, and let's hope it's going to be a nice Sunday, this coming Sunday. Our own particular Unitarian Universalist group is going to be hearing from Ann Cooper about the United Nations, because it's United Nations month coming up, not only Food and Agriculture Day right on October 16th, but the 24th is the UN Day. So plenty of things going on here, and I'm very grateful to Mary to come and talk about her many projects. Thanks so much, Mary.
Thank you for having me, Lois.
This is Lois Whaley for Women Today and Yesterday.